Good morning, Josh. We're going to have everybody turn off their camera just so we can see slides and everything. This is great. Good morning, everyone. Grant Camp Day 1. Here we are. We're climbing. Oh, good. We're climbing every second here. Trying to get everybody on. So we'll start here in just a second. So it's Columbus, Ohio is having a bit of a rainstorm right now. I'm out in Gahanna, so it's raining right now. So if everybody could turn their cameras off and their sound off, and speakers, when I introduce you, just turn on both your camera and your sound. I'm going to try to avoid muting all, but I might have to do that. Okay, you know, I am going to probably have to do that. Now what happens? I am going to mute everyone in the meeting. Okay, but okay, I am going to mute all right now. That helps. Now, it won't help if someone comes in late. So, all right, I'm going to thank my colleague, Amanda McEldowney. She is a master at putting together events and doing logistics. She handled this whole week. So it's every day there's a session. This is exciting. So you know what? I think we'll go ahead and get started since we're being recorded right now. And anybody that jumps in can catch up to us. So let's get going. Here we are. Day 1. Welcome to Grant Camp Week at Morpsey. We've tried to make this so that you can tune into any sessions that you're interested in. We're going to keep these short. We know virtual meetings are something that everyone is getting a little bit of fatigue on. So we'll be right to the point. All right, let's see. So I am the Member Services Officer at Morpsey, and I work with all 75 of our local governments, and I really have fun, and I'm on the Communication Engagement team, work under the direction of Neil Jurist, our Communications and Engagement Director, and we just love it. We love our Executive Director, William Murdoch. He's such an inspiration, and so we have a packed week for you. We've added some wonderful events. We'll be talking about broadband. We'll be talking about Transportation 101. So you can tune in to any of the ones that make sense for you. And we will record these. We'll give you the slides as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with our brand new speaker. Ben, you'll be the guinea pig here to test us out. So if you want to turn your camera on and your sound on, Ben Keppel is Ohio Development Services Agency Community Development Analyst, and he's going to give you a little overview of what the state of Ohio can offer you to help you on your community development. Ben, I'll click for you. So here we go.
Thank you, Eileen. Thanks for having me again this year. So I work for the Ohio Development Services Agency, and I'm going to be giving you pretty much a crash course in the offerings that we have for your community to assist with your community development. We have basically 2 pots of money that we're going to discuss today. The first is funded through the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So you may be familiar with that source of funding if you worked in an urban area or if you've received money from the state of Ohio in the past. And then the other pot of money that we have are state funds that go towards some of the special programs that the state legislature and budget have made priorities for Ohio. So as you can see here, the Ohio Development Services Agency has several different arms. I am in the Community Services Division, which is what we're going to be focusing on, but you also may be familiar with Jobs Ohio, which is a partner of the agency now, which was spun off under Governor Kasich. And then we do have Business Services and Minority Business Division services as well. But we're going to focus on the community services today. So under our community and economic development programs through that community development block grant, we have 3 pots of money: neighborhood revitalization, targets of opportunity, and then our economic development loan and grant programs. And then a subset of that is also handled in our division is the historic preservation tax credit, which is not funded through the community development block grant program, but does go hand in hand with some of the work that we do under community development. So the first program that I'll go over is our neighborhood revitalization program. The idea behind this is to provide a comprehensive program for quality of life improvements in your neighborhoods. These are for low and moderate income benefit for your citizens. And this program is designed to tackle multiple activities that you may have a need for in your community. So if you have a residential area that needs sidewalks, parks, public facilities such as water lines, street improvements, sewer, storm sewer, really the whole gamut of activities that you can think of. These can all be bundled together and you can apply to the state through your county for access to these funds. And this is a $750,000 program. And so it would be divided into at least 3 activities. And the idea here is that we are trying to tackle multiple issues that you have in a community to try to improve that quality of life. This is a once per year program. So we accept these applications in June. And again, you're going to want to go through your county to access these funds. And actually, before I go any further, there is a caveat here. I say this every year for this program, just because I know that there are a lot of individuals that are attending this session that may be in Franklin County or working with the city of Columbus specifically. For the MORPC region, the only community that we cannot do work in through the state would be Franklin County or the city of Columbus, because Franklin County and the city of Columbus both receive their own community development block grant funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So outside of Franklin County, though, the entire MORPC region is eligible for this program through the county level. So, Union County, Delaware County, all of those communities are able to access this. If you're in the city of Columbus or a community that's in Franklin County outside of the city of Columbus, I would encourage you to reach out to your community development officers in that jurisdiction to see how they're utilizing their community development block grant funds. Because unfortunately, we're not able to extend the programs that the state offers into those, they're called entitlement areas. So just a little caveat there before we go any further. And if there are questions about that, at the end, my contact information will be available and you can shoot me an email and I'll help you figure that out. Next, we have our Economic Development and Public Infrastructure Program through CDBG. Again, this would be available to the communities outside of the entitlement areas. We have a loan and we have a grant. The loan is for fixed asset purchases and the grant would be for offsite infrastructure costs. Both of these would be associated with an economic development project in your community. So if it's a job creation project, you would be able to explore this as an option to either provide a very low interest loan to the company or to access grants from the state to do infrastructure work in your community to support that job creation. Again, that would be things like access roads, water and sewer. We can do public utility work as part of a grant. And then on the flip side, if you have a business that say needs to buy a new stamping line of equipment, they could come in for that low interest loan. And then there are some requirements associated with that program that you can see on the screen there. But what I would suggest is if you have a project that you think would fit this program, to reach out to me, and then we can walk through the finer points of that, because I don't want to get too in the weeds here today, since this is kind of a crash course. But these are great resources available to our communities. We do a lot of work where companies are, a mid-size or they're in a fast growth stage where they don't necessarily have access to a lot of private or bank financing. So we can fill that gap for them to allow them to continue to expand, increase their revenue, and then create those jobs, again, which are primarily supposed to benefit low and moderate income individuals to bring them into a higher income bracket. New this year, and this will be continuing probably for 1 or 2 more years in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we did set aside an amount of money to do specifically working capital loans. We normally don't finance working capital as part of our community development funds, but there was definitely a need over the past year to 16 months for access to this kind of funding to ensure that a company had operating expenses covered during the pandemic. So again, it's meant to promote job retention and expansion, to cover payroll costs, monthly expenses, rent, mortgage, utilities, inventory. It is non-forgivable with a maximum 5-year term. However, we have allowed flexibility in the communities that they can defer those payments for 6 months with an option to renew that deferment for another 6 months. So if you have a company that you know is struggling or wasn't able to access the Paycheck Protection Program funds or needs some kind of bridge financing, you can reach out to me and we can work out a working capital loan for them. The last program that we're going to talk about that's specifically community development block grant funded is what we call our Targets of Opportunity grants. Back in the day, we used to call this solely the downtown program, but we've expanded that because we realize that there are way more needs in our communities than just downtown work. So Targets of Opportunity grants are they are discretionary funds on behalf of the state program, designed to do maybe one-off projects that don't fit neatly as an infrastructure project or an economic development project. But say that you have a historic building in your downtown or your central business district, or you have some sort of need for demolition or an infrastructure project that is very limited in scope. You can come into our program for the Targets of Opportunity, and we can fund that rehabilitation of a building or the rehabilitation of that public facility that is designed to kind of work with other things that you're doing in your community to increase that quality of life. So picture here is actually a building, and I believe this is Piqua, that we put about $250,000 into doing some work on the inside to make it available to lease. Before the work was done, this was not a usable space. So you can see there's a for lease sign in the window now. And I believe that building had been unused for about 10 or 15 years. So the idea is to take an asset that you have in your community and make it usable again in terms of retail or residences or public space for your community. On top of the programs that I've already gone over, we do have what we call our open cycle programs. These do not have a specific deadline for application. You may come in at any point in the year with interest for these. And these are our residential public infrastructure and our critical infrastructure programs. These are solely infrastructure, and they are designed for residential neighborhoods where there's a significant need for either water or sewer system replacement or some other significant community-wide impact. The easiest example I can give you for critical infrastructure would be a bridge. We do a lot of bridge work with critical infrastructure, but we've also done significant amounts of sidewalk infrastructure. We've done full street reconstruction. We have done water and sewer lines under critical infrastructure that don't meet the other program. Under residential public infrastructure, we've helped construct wastewater treatment facilities, water treatment facilities. We've done, dozens of miles work of water and sewer line under it. And residential public infrastructure, you can apply for up to $750,000. Critical infrastructure is capped at $500,000 because it's not really designed to do those larger sewer and water projects. But the idea here is also that we can fund those gaps for you where you may have a significant need in your community that doesn't fall into any of the other funding deadlines of the programs that you can find throughout the state. And you can come to us and say, hey, we really need this. What can we do? And we'll try to work with you to create a package there and get that funded for you. Historic Preservation Tax Credit Program. You're probably pretty familiar with this. This does a lot of really cool things throughout the state to preserve the character of Ohio's communities. Buildings that are in the National Register are eligible for this, or if you're in a local government historic district, a landmark. The state tax credit provides up to 25% of those expenditures for rehabilitation. I think one of the coolest ones was up in Cleveland. They did the old arcade, which is one of the oldest malls in the country, and they received historic tax credits to help do that. There's a couple projects here in Columbus that get this kind of funding every year as well. I believe the Atlas building downtown maybe received this tax credit as well. And they're working on like the White Haynes building off of High and Gay streets to get the tax credits for that as well. And then the next slide, I believe we have the timing for the tax credits for this year. For round 27, if you are intending to apply, you need to have your letter in by August 16th. The documentation would be due by August 31st, and then that full application would be required to be submitted by September 30th. Lisa Brownell in our office is the contact person here, and her contact information is there. Easy thing about development emails is it's our first name, a period, and our last name at development.ohio.gov. So lisa.brownell at development.ohio.gov if you're interested in the tax credit program. Next, we have our redevelopment programs, which this was newly folded into the Office of Community Development about 2 years ago. And we have a couple of interesting programs available under redevelopment. For this one, on the next slide, we have the Abandoned Gas Station Cleanup Grant, the US EPA Revolving Loan Fund Program, the Ohio Water Development Authority Brownfield Loan Program, and our Alternative Stormwater Loan Program. So these four are state and or federally funded. They are not funded through HUD, but they are funded through their respective, so US EPA, and then the Ohio Water Development Authority Brownfield Loan works in conjunction with the Development Services Agency to make those awards. The Abandoned Gas Station Cleanup Grant is for Class C Buster properties. You may apply for up to $500,000 in cleanup funds, but you may also apply for an additional $100,000 to do the environmental assessment to determine what kind of cleanup is needed. For the OWDA Brownfield loan, you may apply for up to $5 million in cleanup funds through that loan. There's an additional $500,000 that you may apply for that assessment as well. And then that Brownfield loan program is also going to work in conjunction with, I believe, the State House is working on reauthorizing the Ohio Brownfield redevelopment program to clean up those old industrial sites and put them back into productive use throughout the state. So those kind of work hand in hand there. The Alternative Stormwater Loan Program is a loan up to $5 million for green infrastructure to respond to stormwater issues. So the idea is that we move away from building storm sewer systems to some more sustainable infrastructure. This includes things like bioswales. It includes pervious pavements. It includes retention basins that are not your normal retention basins that are designed to like filter through and are planted with native plantings that are filtration. So it's really kind of a thinking outside of the box type program that will supplement existing stormwater methods that we have in place. So we don't want to keep directing our runoff to rivers like the Scioto or the Big Darby. So if you have a project where you're going to be disturbing land and it's going to create some runoff, but you want to tackle that and make sure that it's being environmentally responsible in the way that you're responding to that, this is a great resource for you. 3 of these programs go through Annie von Blaricom in our office. She's our special projects manager. So that would be the US EPA Revolving Loan Fund, the Brownfield Loan, and the Alternative Stormwater Loan. And then for the gas station cleanup, that's Greg Payne in our office. He's environmental specialist. Both of their contact information are there on the screen. Again, it's first name dot last name at development.ohio.gov. Again, this was a very quick crash course in the offerings that we have in the Ohio Development Services Agency. There's much more available. So if you want to go to development.ohio.gov, we do have a program finder on there. So these are probably the ones that would be the most interesting to you as developers in the MORPC region or as local government officials looking for funding opportunities. Just to loop back before I finish here, those last 4 programs that I talked about that are still on your screen here, those would be available to the folks that are in Columbus or Franklin County because those are state funded or use a different federal source of funding than HUD. Those are available to you in the Columbus area. So the first 4 that I went over would not be available to you because they are through our state funded community development block grant program, but these last 4 are available to you. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. There was a lot to throw at you guys this morning, and I know you're going to have a lot more information the rest of this week. So if you want to circle back at the end of the week, I'd be more than happy to take your questions.
Hey, Ben, thanks so much. A quick question. Are all these programs through each county or do some go directly to the state, such as the open cycle ones?
So all of these programs that I talked about are usually funded through the county level. The last 4 here that are more state funded can be through local governments. So you may have a city that could apply for those as well. But the programs that I'm responsible for that are HUD funded, those do go through the county primarily. There are some exceptions, but again, that's kind of getting into the weeds. So if you have a community that's interested, I can help parse through that with you, but it will be through your county level most of the time.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Go ahead and send Ben a direct question if you have one with his email, ben.keppel at, that big long name, development.ohio.gov. Thank you, Ben. We're going to keep going, everybody. Thank you so much. All right. So I will let Ben, you can turn your camera off. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Here we go. Our next one, we're going to focus on a particular service that Morpsey offers all member governments. It's our grant finder, and it's through a company called Lexipol. They're going to talk briefly about the benefits of the grant finder and about their grant writing service. Take it away, Matt.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction there. Yeah, like Eileen said, I'm in charge of all things Grant Finder. So it's great to meet everybody here virtually. I hope I get to meet with you guys individually as you start signing up for the service. This is going to be a brief demo, but if you want to actually take some time to do a full demo with me, get in touch with Eileen and we can go from there. So I'm going to start right away here, and you can see I put a couple balloons on here. The first balloon there, up in the top right, balloon 1, is just how you kind of change your profile. It's pretty straightforward if you need to change your password, your billing, all of that jazz. More importantly, if you look at balloon 2, you're going to see that we have 4 major buttons and tabs that you can kind of work on, and you're going to be pretty much living in the search tab. We're obviously looking for grants, and so that's what we're trying to do right now. And then you go to balloon 3, and you can see that we have all of these advanced filters so that you can actually kind of change the criteria so that you're not going through 10,000 grants. If you see in balloon 4, there's 10,600 grants. I don't know about you, but I would hate having to sift through all of that. So it's really important to be able to use this balloon 3 filter and use it effectively and efficiently. My personal recommendation, if you forget everything else about Grant Finder, just remember that the 2 biggest criteria are the location, which is that one filter kind of on the top right. We would put Ohio in there. And then you have who can apply. And who can apply is basically just going to filter it down so that you're actually allowed to apply for the grant. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very fun going through the whole process and realizing that you're not allowed to even apply. You'll see a lot of other filters in there. Keyword searches, the program area. I would encourage you to just really start playing around with that. And again, if anybody wants to kind of take a deeper dive, please let me know, and I'd be happy to go through that. You have the announced, estimated, and rolling. And one major benefit to Grant Finder, and kind of really why we're such a great platform, is because of how dynamic our database is. So it says 10,685 search results right now. All of those grants are being checked on to see if the date is no longer estimated and if it's announced officially. We have like the program links, the application links in each grant. So there's all of this information, and it's just, think of it as Google, but a very, very redefined Google of finding all of these grants all across the nation. Once you do look at balloon 4, after you hit that search button in balloon 3, those are going to be your results you can look at. As you start to look through those results, you might find one that you like. For the sake of this demo, we're going to look at supporting small and rural law enforcement. You'll see at balloon 5, we've got a couple buttons there. So tracking your application is one way, and it's an organizational tool that we have. We also have the ability to save a grant if you're kind of just curious about looking at it in the future. Maybe you're not super serious about it yet, but that's a really good way to do it. You could download the grant. You can send it to your colleagues if you need to. It's just a PDF download. And then we also have our grant writing help, which I'm going to let Alma talk about that more, but you guys do get a discount on grant writing services. And that's it's really nice that it couples with Grant Finder. So once you find it, now you're saying, hey, I found the grant that I want. Now I need to actually get the grant writing part. And then that's how we're going to just take care of all of that. Next slide, please. So alerts is a major one, and creating alerts is really important, because if you don't want to go into the platform, and I totally understand not wanting to log in, we can send you an email, and it's really easy to create these alerts based on the criteria that you want. So 1, Ohio; 2, maybe you're looking for radios or whatever you're looking for. You can create those alerts. I have Ohio Criminal Justice Alert, and you can see that you have the results over at balloon number 3, that 9 search results. I also had Ohio radios and just Ohio alert, and you can see the criteria is for Ohio radios, it says radio and Ohio, and then Ohio alert. I put Arizona accidentally, and Native American tribal government. So obviously that one's not going to be effective for you guys, but this is kind of the way that you can play with those alerts. And once you see one that you like, once you get that email, then you can log in, see if you need a little bit more information on that. That's pretty much it for alerts. And let's go to the final slide for me. This is your dashboard, and this is it's a pre-award feature that allows us to kind of track what we're doing and kind of just stay organized on the platform. So if you look at balloon number 2, my saved grants, those are the ones that we're, again, kind of just, we're excited about, but we haven't really done anything with it, right? We haven't submitted it. We haven't even really looked at what the deadline is. Let's just keep that kind of in the back of our mind. Once you actually start to think more seriously about it, you can start tracking that application. So balloon number 3 shows if you want to put it on a watch list, or if you actually are starting to write the application to get that award, then you can use this as an organizational tool. Once you get to submitted applications, balloon number 4, that's where it's actually submitted, or if you were awarded. Again, very, very organizational. And in all of these, you also have the ability to upload documents. So if you wrote a grant, if you wrote a grant during the if you wrote a grant and you didn't get the funding, but you wanted to keep that information, maybe you can take bits and pieces out of that application. This is a really good place to store those documents and just keep it yourself organized for future grant.
Check my calendar real quick.
Hey, Mike Anderson and other folks, could you all mute yourself? Thank you so much. Everybody stay muted except for our speaker. Thank you.
Oops.
And then we've got balloon number 5, very straightforward. It's just the account details that you want to add in there. You can see your documents are also in that area. And then balloon number 6 is where you can, again, for the sake of redundancy, you can also stay organized there, and you can download an Excel file of all of the grants that you've applied for, all of the ones that are in progress, whether they're submitted, turned down. Again, this is going to take a little bit of playing around with. So anybody who signs up with Grant Finder, I would love to work with you right away and make sure that I can get a really in-depth demo with you. I've been kind of doing a little bit too much for my clients recently. So anytime, if you guys just want to email me and ask me to create a search alert for you, you can, but I'm really easily accessible. So don't hesitate to reach out to Eileen, and then we can all get together and make sure that you're really confident on the platform. And other than that, I'm going to turn this over to Alma with the grant writing services, because I know she's excited about the discounts that we offer. So Alma, all you.
Alma, before you get started, we're getting some questions, and I just want to remind everybody, everyone that is a MORPC government member, that are MORPC member governments, cities, villages, they get the grant search free. It's we paid for you to be part of it. What Alma's going to talk about now is the writing opportunities. So Alma, we're so glad you're here with us today, and go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Matt and Eileen. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. We're going to keep this really, really brief. So Eileen, if we can have that next slide, please. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some items about grant writing. I do have my contact information down below, so feel free to reach out to me directly should you have any additional questions, need more information. But basically who we are, we're like supposed pre-award services. We offer consulting, research, as well as grant writing. So our experts or consultants are subject matter experts. They have over 50 years of grant writing experience. They have helped various municipalities allocate much needed funds from anything federal, state, foundation, and or corporate grant funding opportunities. Our success rate is 60% higher than the national average, which is only 17%. We have so far allocated well over $300 million for various municipalities throughout the nation. Would love to assist you guys. So here is a little kind of snapshot of who our Ohio customers are. These are just a few examples, and you can see. And as Matt mentioned, we are offering some discounts for you guys, for your members, through the end of month of the June, or throughout the end of June, offering a 25% discount towards our grant writing services. So should you guys need any help, any further information, again, my contact information is there below. Feel free to reach out to me directly. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eileen.
All right, thank you so much. So just to reiterate, all of the members have a free grant search services, and they described in detail a little bit of how you can use that service to manage it, but it can be really easy where you can just look at the grants you want and then park the PDF yourself. You can go right to the application. Their little short write-ups are really nice because they show if you need a match, they show you who qualifies. Some of you I see have nonprofits on the line here today. They're in your community. They're very integral to your community, and you might do a search for them and say nonprofit as the writer or provider or the applicant, a nonprofit, and see if what could come up for them. So we want everyone to be successful. The writing she just described is separate, and you can always reach out to Alma and say, we're going after a OPWC major infrastructure improvement in our sidewalks and so forth. Do you help us with that application? You can ask them, what would it cost us? And we're a MORPC member. What's the discount? And I think you were telling me, Alma, can I put you on the spot here? You said often your fees can range from $2,000 to $5,000 depending on the grant, right? Is that more typical?
Yeah, Eileen, so it's to 2,500 to 5,000 per application per project. So, and again, like I said, we are offering all members a 25% discount through the month of June. So happy to help you guys.
Very good. And some of the grants, and she's talking about some of the sophisticated ones. Some of them are simple ones, like the dog park grant. That's a little one pager. So some are very, very simple, half-page applications, not very technical at all. So, but some are difficult. Okay, let's keep moving. Thank you so much. That is Lexipol and our grant finder services. One last comment on that. All the MORPC members have one person who can do the search, who has that capability of opening up the grants. You can name one person. If you need to change the person, let me know. Let me know. I'll manage that for you. All right, moving on to our next topic. We are going to go over to the Columbus Foundation, and Dan Sharp is going to talk a little bit about the opportunities there. Go ahead, Dan.
Good morning, Grant Camp. Great to be with you. Thanks so much for inviting the Columbus Foundation to the conversation again this year. Eileen, next slide, please. Really definitely want to engage the conversation with your municipality hat on, but also be aware that many of you outside of your professional lives as wonderful people are probably engaged in volunteer opportunities and even board opportunities. So a lot of what I'll have to say hopefully has a symbiotic relationship for all of the hats you wear and all of the capes that you don in your fantastic role to strengthen all of our communities. Also, while it is from the Columbus Foundation perspective, we will be talking about a total of 8 counties. So don't tune out if you don't just happen to be in Franklin County from your role. And hopefully you've had the opportunity to engage with some of the things that the Columbus Foundation has done, from the Big Give, which is a day-long grant-making blitz that last round yielded more than $33 million for more than 1,000 organizations in Central Ohio, to important, meaningful conversations that we've really had great success with villages, cities, and counties convening tables for conversations during the big table, all the way through schools and the nonprofit network of organizations. And then 3 years ago, to celebrate our 75th anniversary, partnered with the cultural institutions in Central Ohio, as well as CODA, which was free for the day, to get people to museums, which were also free for the day, paid for by the donors of the Columbus Foundation, to just enjoy those assets that we have as a community. So thank you to those that you participated in opening your doors or ventured out through the community. We'll also touch on our giving store and crowdfunding opportunities known as Better Together. Next slide is our mission, which really you'll see that we assist donors, and we really broadly define that as individuals that, yes, have funds with us. They could also be families and or corporations, but people are making credit card gifts as small as $20 to important projects that are strengthening and improving in our community. And the grant making vision that we have really does focus on the improving the quality of life. And so again, as we engage the conversation today, what you're doing in a way that is engaging quality of life is how we're really focusing on it. And so when you think of approaching the Columbus Foundation, yes, there is the transactional nature of submitting a grant, but there's also several funds that we do have at the foundation that become available to amplify and invest in the work that you're doing. Donor advised funds is probably the most popular, and just as that name sounds, it is driven and advised by the donor. Again, individuals, families, corporations, or entities, and they really have the full flexibility to deploy their dollars however they see fit. But we also have a lot of scholarship funds that can be available to work with entities to do scholarship grant making, to obviously create that connectivity and the opportunities for students matriculating to technical schools, traditional four-year universities can have their scholarships be accessible through the Columbus Foundation. And then we also have unrestricted funds that are available through some of our application processes that we'll talk about a little bit coming up. Within that competitive grant making, I mentioned the 8 counties that we do have. And so Franklin County being our primary, certainly, but because of donor interest over the years, we do have grant making footprints in several counties through central, northern, and southern Ohio. And so if you are a city, village, or municipality and or working with a 501c3 in those geographies, don't count us out. It's highly likely that we could have a grant opportunity, many of them coming around once a year. So those grant deadlines would be important to check out on our website, columbusfoundation.org. And then how are we spending our dollars? So this chart really in front of you gives some percentages of buckets, if you will. The top half of this chart's really important because it does show the power of the donor-centric and donor advice that comes. 95% of all dollars coming out, which in the past couple of years was north of 200 million, was all donor directed. And then the team of 10 talented folks that I lead really have oversight of 5 to 7% of that slice of pie on an annual basis. And then we see those dollars being filtered out into categories that help organizations far and wide. For the last year now and a half, we have been prioritizing our emergency response fund for COVID-19, and we're going to continue that emphasis. Last year, more than $7 million went out, ranging from $1,300 to $600,000 for organizations. And next slide, please. We're manifesting the emergency response fund on a go forward to have an important impact on the digital divide and responding to that in partnership with a lot of Central Ohio municipalities through the Digital Equity Fund. And then obviously our youth are experiencing some real pinch points, whether it's through violence or just the learning loss that they've endured through the myriad of success with school this year. We're having a grant opportunity through the Emergency Response Fund for Youth. So I want you to be aware of that. We can skip the directory listing slide, Eileen, which is the next one, and jump Better Together, please. Better Together is our crowdfunding campaign with a goal of 5 to 15,000. So if you have a specific project in mind or that you have undertaken and you're looking for those last dollars, or just want to build awareness for the opportunity, but also through awareness some fundraising, Better Together is a great opportunity. It does have to be a 501c3, but we see a lot of entities come forward with a fiscal sponsor or a community organization, a nonprofit, to bring that. Next slide, please. Yes, perfect. So it's great because our donors get contacted about it, so they learn about new opportunities, new needs in the community, and then the organization in partnership is rallying their donors that then get a free platform to receive the dollars and online gifts through. And then we get through, by being Better Together, get to the finish line of co-funding that ideally in full. And we've seen some that have certainly exceeded and gone in excess of their goals, which is great. Specifically with your municipality hat on, I want you to be aware of 2 grant deadlines coming up in October. The deadline is the first Friday in October, and it would be for our historic preservation grant making opportunity, but also the one that's really for community beautification and improvement, which was seeded by dollars from the Jeffrey family and the Jeffrey Mining Company many years ago, that have a desire to see communities improved and beautified. And we've had great opportunities with many municipalities having success on that grant deadline for projects, whether it's gateway installations to working more recently with the city of Columbus on street trees and granite curb cuts for a water line improvement on a thoroughfare in central Ohio. So again, community improvement, but also historic preservation, two specific grant opportunities that tend to have more success for municipalities, but hopefully this run through for was also of interest to the other hats that you wear beyond your day job. So happy to engage any of my team members with follow-up questions, certainly myself as well, but not only for Franklin County, but also some of those surrounding counties. Please think of the Columbus Foundation when it comes to exploring funding opportunities. Thanks for the opportunity to pop into Grant Camp today.
Thank you, thank you. I'm so sorry, your slides had timers on it.
Oh,
And I thought, wow, how's it advancing? So I apologize. I kept
I'm keeping everybody on their toes. Thanks for wrangling that. Sorry about that.
Your team had you so you had to go like this. Thank you so much, Dan. Columbus Foundation is absolutely amazing. And Dan, you have a couple open houses where you invite people to come in and hear about the grant. Is that right?
That is true. We're not yet in person again, and we've had mixed bag success with digital. So we've just really tried to make ourselves as team accessible to questions. And so for the time being, that would be my recommendation, to connect with anybody on the community research and grants management team for any specific questions.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much. They really have a cross section and very, very well. You saw the 8 county wide area, so fantastic. So I'm going to move towards questions here. Let me see if I can get control again. Get back to this. Here we go. All right. So once again, I'm going to move up into the questions that we have here. Kind of going back into the grant finder, and I think I mentioned that one person in each government has the ability to open the grant finder. Also, Amanda McEldowney will periodically do a big search and drop those into a nice Word document with links. And we send those out periodically just to remind you, wow, we have a lot of opportunity in Central Ohio. And we clean that up and build it down to just what's available for Central Ohio. We'll take out things that are for Indian tribes because we don't have any, or the Great Lakes. We'll take all those out so that we try to give you those that are pertinent for Central Ohio. And there's oh my goodness, there's a wide variety in emergency services and community development. And it'll pick up some of the foundation's grants, doesn't pick up all of theirs sometimes, but it picks up the majority. It'll pick up and troll big corporate grants. So all of you that have retail in your backyard, you have a Home Depot, they will do some sweat equity grants. Any major employer often has their own foundation, and if you're in their territory, you can apply to those as well. So quite a generous amount of things. Let's see if I got all the questions there. I'm going to call out my colleague Amanda McEldowney. If you can help me see if we got all the ones that were kind of floating around there. If you need to change your representative, let me know. If you forgot who your representative is, let me know. And I'll work with Matt to change that. I have about 30 people that are still inactive. That means they were invited to be on Grant Finder and they didn't activate themselves. It's very, very easy to use the tool. I love that tool. Okay, let's see if I got any other questions that I'm missing here. Okay, and you can throw them in the chat. And if I missed them afterwards, you can throw them in and we'll try to answer them after the meeting. So let me kind of go through a couple of announcements here at Morpsey. Let's see, these are some seminars coming up that you're all welcome to attend, everyone. Privates, nonprofits, you're welcome to attend these. This one's going to be talking about the public sector of the future. I noticed a lot of private businesses on the call today. If you're one of those folks that's in this space, you're welcome to be part of this. We're going to talk about how we modernize our governments going forward. We have to be careful. The accounting tools change. Some of the software that we use changes. So how do we keep modernizing ourselves and be cost efficient? What are those opportunities? I don't think one government has everything they want, not one of us. So we have to be efficient. We have to be fiscally responsible. But look ahead to see what's coming. She's going to talk about that. This one's going to be cultivating your next leader. Those of you in leadership positions right now, think about who's coming after you. Where are these great leaders in your community? Sometimes they're active in your schools. Sometimes they're active in your communities. Maybe they should go for a leadership role in governments or on your planning commissions or things like that. Sometimes you got to go find them and recruit them and encourage these leaders to come forward. We want greater diversity representing the community that we represent. Does our officers, does our trustees, does our township trustees, our city councils, do they reflect the people that live in our community? That's who we want to try to build more comprehensive discussions and include all voices. That's what they're going to talk about. This one is when you want to do some zoning rules, and particularly this is going to be lean towards the rurals. Bringing in private investment often needs, you might want to revisit your zoning rules. So there's ways to bring in zoning rules that are benefit your community, but still retain the value of that rural feel. You have some flexibility, and she's going to talk about it. We have a lawyer. We have the BIA Central Ohio Executive Director coming. He's very informed about what the residential builders need. And we're going to have Scott Mallory, who's kind of a residential and commercial builder, and he's been doing some work in Knox County and other places. So we're not trying to have our rural communities become urban. We're trying to help them retain their young people, have some economic vitality in where they want it. Maybe it's in their villages, things of maybe their cities, things of that sort. And how do they retain their flavor and be careful about the zoning that they put in place? All right, and then we'll end our summer with social media for all local governments. This is a fun, brief update on trends, where we're going, what's beneficial, what helps you in your role in local government, how to engage your public, and what kind of ways you can utilize these tools effectively with community conversation. And then I want to give a plug for 2 signature events that MORPC always has. We'll have our fall summit. This is our environmental showcase. This is a place where some of our private firms can come in and sponsor sessions and have a chance to showcase and maybe introduce a speaker and get a little more information out about themselves. So that would be a nice opportunity. Also, our State of the Region looks like we're going to be in person. We'll be announcing that at some point. Again, those 2 signature events and a number of our other big events are managed by Amanda McEldowney. She pulls together the team and does a tremendous job. So if you're interested in thinking about something like that, let us know. And she's also a good contact, Amanda McEldowney, and I'll have her email as well. And I think I'm coming to the end of my sessions here. So, oh my gosh. So let me give one last plug for the week. You just got an A for coming to the first day. So let me tell you about tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be same time. It's going to be slightly longer because we've got a lot to cover. It's going to be on ODOT, safety funding. We're going to have local funding and Ohio Bridge Partnership Program. We're going to talk about small city, municipal bridge, and local major bridge programs. There are many, many communities that have bridge work that needs to get done. We're going to talk about TAP funding and MORPC attributable funding. So heavy on the major infrastructure projects. They're very costly for our communities. That will be on day 2. Day 3 is Wednesday, 10 o'clock again. We're going to talk, this is the one that those of you that are interested in trail development, trail planning, this is one you should come to. ODNR will be there, talk about their funding. Ohio Public Works will be there. All of us try to get as many proposals into Public Works as when we're eligible and have the ability to do that. And then OEPA funding also. So they'll be talking on Wednesday. Thursday, we got a double hitter. In the morning, we're going to be talking about, let's see, my morning session is community development with rural. This will be the USDA coming in to talk about rural development. And this can mean water, doesn't mean you're going to become an urban space, but this talks about where can you access funding that you need. And then broadband, well, we're going to talk about it from the rural perspective. And then the second half will be devoted towards Central Ohio broadband. So we're really excited to let's bring you up to speed with what's going on in that space. There's not a community that isn't impacted on that. So that will be on Thursday, and it's only 10 to 11. It's short and quick. And then one more session on Thursday at 1 o'clock. We're going to talk about Transportation 101. So this is an overview primarily for the MPO. It's only 30 minutes. It's from 1 to 1:30. If you want a quick overview of how do I get federal funding when I'm in the MPO, what's the process? How do we make decisions? Who gets the money? Thea Walsh is going to give you a quick overview. It's only 30 minutes right before commission, 1 to 1:30 on Thursday. And Friday, we're going to talk with SWACO will be coming, a very short seminar, only 30 minutes, and Franklin County Soil and Water. They have a lot of grants available for inside Franklin County. SWACO also, wonderful opportunities there. Wow, we did it, everyone. Any last questions you want to throw into the chat that I missed? So I'm going to send everyone that was on the registration list, I'm going to send you the PDF of these slides. If you didn't register, then go ahead and send me your email so I have that to send these to. So you can, we're going to close this up. We'll end the recording. Later on, we'll have the recording if you need to hear it again. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. I can't believe we did it. And we did it without losing power. This is great. Have a great week, everybody. A little rainy in Ohio, but have a great week. Thank you so much.